Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Daniel Thompson. I am a former personal trainer, former physical therapy technician, rehabilitative exercise specialist, all kind of things. Um, I was previously saying former hit, former this, former that. Um, maybe not. I don't know. Difficult to really kind of define my place in that at the moment. Today's this episode is going to be about my experience with Arthur Jones, Nautilus, and Medx. First time I heard about Arthur Jones was pretty much like everybody else. Uh, the Darden's books. First one for me was the high intensity bodybuilding. That was the one applying the principles to free weights. Good book. Good book. Still a good book. Routine in that should be just the main one everybody does in a gym. Um, Then I think I got, the Nautilus bodybuilding book, which I've said before was kind of became my Bible. And I mean, exercise Bible, exercise manual. Um, and then the advanced bodybuilding book. The advanced bodybuilding book was kind of I think, a show thing for about the experience with Boyer Co. there. It was interesting. It was also a sales tool, kind of like Body for Life, was basically a promotional tool for their supplements. The advanced bodybuilding book sort of was a sales tool for the duo squat and the low back machine. Let me check my notes here real quick. Why am I on settings? There we go. So in the advanced bodybuilding book, there was a lot of interesting things. There was a whole chapter on the negative cam. And the book was really not selling, but promoting selling and kind of talking about the magic of the negative cam and feeding into that God in the machine. I'm just going to say it that way because I can't pronounce the Latin correctly. Agricola, Orli, whatever, farmer. Um, the the advanced bodybuilding book was good because it gave you some really interesting routines, really interesting and useful techniques. But I think my opinion is it was mostly a sales tool for the duo squat, and it worked on me. When the duo squat, I think for many people, whether or not it was effective, we had this idea that it was a magic machine. We had this. Uh, I even dreamed about it. It was bizarre. Um, the delivery of information about the duo squat was set up in such a way that this machine was the be all end all of that. It didn't wasn't written that way, but that's how I think most people took it. And even today, when I see a duo squat, I'm like, wow, it's interesting. But I know it's not really that great. There are many leg presses that are better. I think the Medx leg press is better. I don't think there's anything great about the duo. It's a good machine. It's still a good machine. And the best thing about it is it's kind of thin. It's small. I wouldn't say small. It's long, but kind of thin. It can fit in different spaces where the Medx leg extension is just like it takes up half a room. So it had some advantages in space. And I think that was probably, I would love to hear and talk to the group of people engineering on that specific device. Was space a very important consideration in the design? Was where the weight stack was, how it was placed? Was all that a Was it planned or was it by accident? Down in the comments if you were part of that team. Write a quick bit about what you remember from that. That would be cool. That would be cool. Um, the duo squat for me, probably as good as regular squats. Um, Never hurt my knees, never hurt my back, never hurt anything on it. Um, I was around. I came in after the recommendations for settings changed a little bit. At first they were go to lockout. Ken and Arthur, the back and forth about that. The settings were changed to right before lockout, and I've never done a complete lockout position on leg press. Just like it's useless and not necessary. Whether or not it's dangerous, it can be. Probably no more dangerous than any other type of lockout position with standing up and squats and all that kind of stuff. But that much pressure, it could be. I have seen. I'm not going to say where, mostly because I don't know if I want to overstep my bounds on that one. The people involved will know. I have stood by while a deposition was going on about an injury acquired on the duo squat. I don't know the result of that lawsuit. I don't know. I just observed the deposition itself. It was interesting, curious. Lawyers speak and stuff. Right? So that was curious. So people have been hurt on it. Whether or not somebody had an injury before, I don't know. I don't know. Not doing as good today. My recovery from the surgery, it's going well. Just my energy is down today. That's all. I don't know why, but just a difficult time sleeping, all that kind of stuff. All right. One of the, I think, important turning points in the Nautilus Medx high intensity group thing. The article Exercise 1986 was 95. I think it was 86. That was for many people. I think it was kind of sort of the announcement towards a different path for maybe for Nautilus, maybe for Arthur. I don't know what Arthur intended. If maybe he intended to go continue with the whole thing. I don't know. I don't know what happened with that and why. But instead of it being the Nautilus lumbar, I always wonder if Nautilus continued, if the shell stayed, if those machines kept improving, if Medx stayed as Nautilus, what would have happened? Kind of wish it had happened. I don't know if it would have been better or worse. Kind of wish it had happened, but didn't happen. There are a lot of considerations, I'm sure, business-wise of why it didn't. Trademarks, medical things. Medx was a pretty good name for it. Implied medical things. It could have been the Nautilus medical line. They had a medical line, but Medx by Nautilus. It could have been anything. It should have been, but should have been, could have been, would have been, whatever. After that, and I realized this. I made a thing about the GHFC, and it was not where I got the blue lumbar, neck, and knee book. I requested that. I ordered that. I looked back and ordered it. So I had read it before I'd gone to Medx, so I knew about Medx and the procedures and all that. And at this age, time, things kind of get blurred, and so I had the book. I had read through it many, many times. Really got into the part about generic and specific responses, which was also presented in the Exercise 1986 article. Generic and specific, or no, general and specific, not generic. Maybe it is. I don't know. I haven't looked. General and specific. During the research at University of Florida, most of the people I talked to, I wasn't involved in the initial test for, let's see, accuracy, reliability, repeatability. I forget all the terms that are required for a measuring tool in research. It met the requirements. More research could go on. The more and more they researched with static training, I think some of the technicians who worked on the research projects in the initial stages told me, yeah, it's all specific adaptation. That general was not really noticed, at least with lumbar. I don't know about other things, but at least with lumbar extension. I recall the first time I did it in the GHFC, my visit, it was a really unique feeling to have your lumbar muscles pumped. That had never happened before, not on a low back machine, not on I'm going to go ahead and call it hyperextension. It's not even hyperextension, it's back extension. I'd never had my lower back pumped. That was a unique feeling, felt pretty good. As a gymnast, of course, back injuries, overuse back injuries. I'll go into, I may do a episode on my injuries, how they occurred, and how I manage them today. May give some people, I don't know, it might help, might not. But it was really interesting using the machine as a technician. Now, the first machine I used as a technician was the one where the pressure's coming from the foot, not the original one, not from the shin. I exercised in that one probably for about 6 months before that bottom part was replaced. I think when, if I remember right, I think it was Clay Steffi and his assistant or whoever brought for the two machines that were at, maybe it was just one, that were at GHFC, and he replaced the bottom bracing. Maybe, I don't think the seat too, just the bottom bracing. The rest of the machine was the same. But, replaced the bottom bracing and through the feet. Personally, I liked the one on the shin better. I was told that a lot of people could not accept, or it was very distracting. They couldn't accept the pressure on the shins. It was a problem. I don't know more about that. I'm sure Clay could comment on that. I personally liked the original design better. I think it worked better too, as far as stabilizing the pelvis. As a technician, as a person exercising in that machine, first time you're in it and you're locked down, it's a little claustrophobic for just a moment. Because you are belted in, you're basically trapped. If somebody said, okay, bye, it would be really, really difficult to get out. Now, I'm sure you could. I'm sure people have done that. I know people have been able to somehow manage using the machine exercise. I don't know how, because I've heard they can. I haven't used the machine in over 20 years. Well over 20 years. I would like to try it again with some of the new recommendations that people are using, see how that is. Using it back and forth, Um, I got, in terms of back pain, in terms of strength, really good, really good. The protocol we used was a warm-up set with for about 3 or 4 reps, not a full set, um, and rest, check adjustments, and then do your normal set. So there was a warm-up set, even with trainees, excuse me, even with patients. I don't know if the warm-up set is still used. I imagine most hitters don't use it. I think it should be used. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you, as a hitter, using consistent lumbar machine, do you do the recommended warm-up set? I don't know what the recommendations are now, if there are even any. But let me know. As a technician, as a rehabilitative exercise, I think the certification technically I had was called rehabilitative exercise specialist, and I had another one from ACSM. I don't remember the name of that one. Um, they were not really necessary for what I did, but I thought they would be, but it didn't matter. Um, doing the working with patients on that, I'm sure people using it know what I'm talking about here. You have to really, really, really go over what they're going to experience. You have to prepare them for actual usage. And it can be, need to stand up again. It can be really, really confusing and frustrating and overwhelming for a new person. So the first time you use it, you're mostly just getting them used to it, getting a feel and what to expect. You're not going to slam somebody on it unless they're okay and a hitter, and then pour on the juice. I don't know if it's completely necessary as an exercise, but I would recommend it still. Let's see where I am. First time I met Arthur. The first time I met him, it was very shortly before I got the job at Gains Health and Fitness. I was living in Ocala, and the very first weekend I moved there, I contacted Medx and arranged to go to the Friday. It's a Friday show. It's basically here, it was his Friday thing. I think Joe Cerulli was there at that time. I think Dr. Graves, I forgot his name, Pollock. Dr. Pollock was there, and a lot of other people from Medx was there. Arthur walked in. The first thing he said, "They got the son of a bitch." And I knew instantly he was talking about Travis Ward, because there had been a whole thing going on with the sale of Nautilus to Travis Ward and all that. And so he was firm, and I don't know much more, but that was all I remember. Somebody said something, it couldn't happen to a nicer son of a bitch. That was my first experience personally with Arthur. So I think it really set up my impression. Not to me. I had never had more. If you totaled up the conversation, there wasn't even a conversation. If you had the total interaction with Arthur that I've had, it's probably less than 5 minutes. I was around him, just in the vicinity, listening, watching, quite a bit. Not a lot of it. A couple hours maybe. Not at one time, but off and on. Really did not have any direct interactions for more than 2 or 3 minutes, or 2 minutes, maybe a minute at a time. So I did not experience Arthur as a person. I experienced him as a person right there. So I did not have interaction. My impression of Arthur is that he is a showman, a good showman. P.T. Barnum style, uh, the Siegfried, Polly's and all that. The people who can put on a good show. Nautilus was one of his shows. Medx was one of his shows. He had all of his Wild Cargo. He had the Nautilus television studios. Um, Nautilus was one of his shows. Medx was one of his shows. And some good ideas, really good ideas, came out of these shows. That's my impression of Arthur. Was he brilliant? Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure a lot of people have that impression that he was brilliant. Maybe. He has certainly achieved a lot. He was an overachiever. He worked hard. There was no doubt about that. He was a good showman. That first day, I listened to the thing, and then they took us on a tour of Jumbo Lair. Got to see. Yeah, I remember driving up to the first of all before I even got into um, the ballroom thing, or where they did the Medx show, so is what I call it. Was right next to the jetport, the concrete thing, and Mickey's cage was right in the jetport thing. Um, we got to tour Jumbo Lair, and it was just shocking how big that concrete sound or catch thing, whatever it was. I was like, geez. And everything that was in there. I got to see Gomek alive. Gomek, if you go to St. Augustine, there is a display of Gomek. It was the largest or second largest, I don't know, somewhere around there, crocodile ever caught. This thing was huge. When I saw it, it was in this kind of sort of a big shed, a little bit of a pond, and they threw it those nutria things to eat. When it opened its mouth, at the time, that jaw opening, it looked taller than me. Probably wasn't, but it looked like it was. It may have been. I probably could have walked into Comic's mouth. It was big. There were giraffes. The rhinos to me, there were elephants, of course. The rhinos to me, I think there were two. Um, I remember the rhino keeper, the keeper on the staff there. I asked him, what are they like? What's their disposition? And he said, rhinos are actually kind of affectionate creatures. The problem is they don't know everything else is not a rhino. They don't know you are. He said they don't know you're not a rhino. They think everything's a rhino. I don't know if that's true. That was his impression. Um, I don't know much, but that was what I was told. And they were big. They were both together bigger than the two cars I have. Not I have, but we have. They were big. Then we, of course, rode up the little thing to the, had like I guess a golf cart. I don't remember how we got it. It's some sort of something. We got all the way up to the top of the runway, and there's this area where he had his alligators. Tons of alligators. But the most impressive thing for me was the baby alligators. It looked like millions. And you heard the baby alligator sounds they made. It was really curious. Um, Second time, I don't remember what I said to get into that show. I implied, I think, that I might be working at a clinic in the future, and I did. So I guess it was true, but I pretty much said anything I could to get into to see it that day. Um, I did work in clinics in the future, quite a few. I don't know much about what went on with Travis Ward and the sale and the subsequent sales of Nautilus. I don't know what much went on at Medx, how business was organized, what they did. I would really like to know. Just out of curiosity, that's all. Um, I know some. I've heard some stories, but it would be interesting. few times. I went a couple of times. I guess they got used to me there after a while. I mean, even before I was working at Gainesville Fitness, I went a few more times. Um, and when I was working at Gainesville Fitness and working with Request the physical therapy, uh, Joe would frequently take me down to um, I don't know I don't remember how many times, maybe five or six, to those Friday morning things, and he'd sit and read the paper while Arthur did his spiel. He'd heard it many times, and probably I think he actually did the speech a couple of times. Yeah, yeah. I think Joe, if you're hearing this, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you actually um, did the presentation once, and I think it was this. I think there was a time. I think it was this time. We got there. Joe flew us from Gainesville Airport to Arthur's place, and Mickey had died, and everybody there was mourning. Arthur, what didn't come in, and everybody the heaviness of Mickey's death was very apparent in everybody. I doubt many sales were made that day. They did the present. They got through the thing, but the mood was just was, they were in mourning, especially Arthur. I, s- I can't remember if I saw Mickey. I don't remember. May have seen him while he was in. I don't think I did. I don't think I did. Observations. Okay, let me back up. There were other Medx machines, medical machines, the cervical extension, rotary torso. Ow. Okay, yeah, I'm still not healed from that. Where the robot poked me. That's still sensitive. Yeah, I've gotten to where I can bend now, back and forth. I can't extend that far. I can bend a little more, only so much. But twisting, I do a few movements to get that area, the tissues, to not tighten too much, but it's sensitive. Rotary torso, cervical extension, or rotary neck. Um, I like them all except the rotary neck. I liked the rotary neck a lot at first. The Nautilus rotary neck machine. I wish I could have one here. If I could eventually buy one, that thing would get rid of my headaches. I get tension headaches, still do sometimes. I just go to town on that thing and 15. I mean, sometimes I'd be on it for 10, 15 minutes, just moving, just pressure, rest, do another set. I didn't go all out, of course. I'm just trying to get rid of it, and it would eventually work. The Nautilus one, I think, is important because your body can move. Having your body, okay, I think the head, when it moves, I'm not sure about this, but I think it moves kind of like this, like where it's in a semicircle going forward. Your body is held still, so I don't know. Anyway, I don't recommend in general the Nautilus or the Medx rotary neck. Probably is okay. If when I used it, I got to where I would not seal me in. I did not want. I wanted this motion and this motion. If you can see, I'm moving my trunk, my shoulders back and forth, and I'm doing chin tucks or chin thrust. I forget what that's called. I want those parts to be able to move easily. For the sake of exercise and safety, I think that's necessary. It's not good for testing. Needless to say, that machine, I don't think it's made anymore. I'm not sure how many people have it or use it. I think the original Nautilus one was better, and I hope I have some ideas on that. Anyway, my experience with the rotary torso, good. Can't say I really got much benefit from it from anything else. Testing, I don't know if it was going to help with anything. I see no reason to test in that thing. I personally see no reason to do any testing. Once the research is, and I've said this before, once the research has been done, just do the prescribed exercise program. You don't. The only reason testing is there is insurance and to release the patient. Okay, just do the exercise, and I'll come to this later in physical therapy stuff. Um, the neck extension. I want to talk a little bit about this one because this was very different. I don't know. I believe more research was done about this, but I'm not completely sure. There was a response. I think it's in the lumbar, neck, and knee. There was something called a reverse response. You do static test on the neck extension. You set a recommended weight. Do another static test. For some people, similar curve. I mean, not like the lumbar extension, similar effect. All that kind of stuff. For other people, you had a reverse effect. I was one of them. If I did neck extension, now this could be due to neck injuries. I have no idea. You do neck extension or do the test. You set the resistance, do the exercise. When I did it, and I did this many times, I got probably, and this was before I was doing super slow, I got probably 50 reps before I said, okay, that's enough. I'm just going to stop. This is boring. And the reps were getting easier and easier and easier. Did the test after, the post-test, pre-test, exercise post-test, did the post-test. I was stronger. I don't know. Maybe the weight was selected wrong. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe we could argue I didn't push hard enough or some injury caused me to not push hard enough. The before and after strength curve from the static test were the same, so I wasn't malingering. I don't know. Anyway, how's my neck? Reverse response. Is it real? I don't know. That was my experience. I continued to do, throughout when I do neck work, I continue to do high repetitions. Heavier weight, lower repetitions would give me, it was not comfortable. It was, I got to where I just would not do it because I would get either headaches, I would get neck cramps, I would wake up at night. It didn't matter what kind of neck machine it was. The rotary neck seemed to help neck strength more than any other, more than flexion, more than extension, even more than what is side to side? I forget. There's no device that can test flex. Well, I'm sure there is, but not like the Medx one, and side to side. So I don't know if those muscles would have reverse response. I'm guessing. I'm gonna swag. Swag is a term for scientific wild ass guess. It's an Arthur term. Probably not his term. He just repeated it. Scientific wild ass guess. I'm gonna swag that the rest of my neck probably does have reverse response. Don't know why. If you have made changes to the recommended procedures for Medx lumbar extension, if you still use the cervical extension, and especially I'd like to know and discuss, maybe even on here, how you use the rotary neck, Medx rotary neck, and what you've noticed from it, what you like, what you don't like, all that kind of stuff. At the moment, I still say most of the net Medx. I would still believe most of the Medx machines are still the best engineered, best designed available if you can get them. Um, Good job, guys. Uh, Clay and Clay Steffi, Arthur Jones et al. Good job. Uh, Phil Stencil, I think it's Phil Stencil. I'm not sure. I can't remember. Um, I really admire the work, the engineering work that went into that device, uh, that went into its continued progression. A lot of that was troubleshooting, um, and I wish continued research and continued modification could have continued. I hope maybe in the future they do. Okay, so I'm going to branch off from experience. Well, not quite a branch off. Um, is the Medx lumbar extension necessary? Some form of it for patients is. The only other way to exercise your back is other machines, and unless you're using the Medx exercise only low back machine, you're probably not going to be getting a true effect to those muscles. Um, at home, I do different things, 3 different moves, and probably see other people do this, um, to try to exercise in some form or fashion through that entire range of motion. It's really difficult with regular devices, with home exercise equipment, to exercise at once through the full range of motion, even statically. So you have to do 3 exercises to make up for to get that full range. And I've heard, and even to the physical therapists back then did not like going into flexion. There were a lot of them that it was like half of the range of motion. That was their protocol. They were really, a lot of them really did not like flexion. I never really had a problem with that. Um, I don't know if it had to do with my flexibility or not. I know. Oh, this is good. I don't know if it's good actually. When Arthur et al. Started experimenting with the sideways devices, we're getting rid of the necessity of the counterweight just for research and looking at things. I don't know if he intended on that being a production machine. It was awkward as just getting in it and turning. No, no. It was good probably to look at things, but that was an expensive research tool. I imagine he probably got some of the ideas from rotary torso and then turning it on the side. But from that, they discovered the problem about what he called stored energy. Stored energy as far as testing. The Medx lumbar extension, if you have very tight lumbar musculature and you get to a certain point, that there's a tendency for those tissues to contract and pull back. Also, if you're obese, and in the Medx machine, even a little bit of extra weight can cause this. This mass of belly, maybe even thighs, hips, as you come forward and compress, that tissue is giving some energy. So technically, all of the tests that had been done before the discovery of stored energy were invalidated. Maybe not. I don't know. But it did get the idea of that stored energy was a factor to be considered in testing. I don't think any other device, not Medx, but anything else, I don't think anything else considered that as part of its evaluation. That led me to think about stored energy and pre-stretch from the Nautilus days, the 10 requirements. One of them was pre-stretch. And pre-stretch, to kind of give you an example on um, pullover, as you read, as you go back, kind of, I don't know, let me explain it. As you flex, okay, flexion, extension, I forget, God. As your arms go up over your head into the stretched position, if I remember right, you kind of started a little quick, or there was almost this thing of kind of letting it, and then I don't want to say jabbing, but that was the effect that people interpreted. I don't think you were supposed to do that, but people interpreted the okay, bicep curl. If you come down, you're supposed to go like not that fast, but it's like I'm not sure. That was the action that people interpreted. I don't think that was what they were supposed to do, but that was what people applied that concept to. And no, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Your turnarounds in any exercise should be smooth and controlled. Mine are, mostly. But the stored energy, this is a factor you need to consider, and when you're doing other exercises, other things, look at how the exercise is set up, and that part of the stored energy of different exercises, different positions, may be having an impact on the ability or not to go to momentary muscular failure. I do not know. I had thought about that. Other than maybe, I'd never really looked at it any more than that. But it's an interesting concept. It's a fun thing to mentally play with. Um, I really want to hear what their memory on duo squat is, what their memory. I don't care about the Nautilus lower back. That's pretty much a useless tool, in my opinion. It's probably useful for some people. I don't think it is. I think many other back exercises are probably just as effective, less money. But if you can get the use of Medx lumbar extension, use it. Just go ahead and use it. See y'all later.